You guys asked for my thoughts on Cardano, and finally, here they are. Now, I never said it was going to be positive though, because to be honest, I've never really been a fan of Cardano. Now, it wouldn't be fair to you if I just shared my opinions without backing it up. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my research and analysis and the number one hurdle that I foresee in Cardano's future. So if you are willing to consider a different point of view, then you're in the right place. Strap in, my friend, and let's dive right in. This is going to be my most disliked video ever, isn't it? Because I know that those of y'all who like Cardano are super enthusiastic about it. But alas, this series is called My Contrarian View after all. It's where I share my views that a lot of y'all might disagree with, and I try to do a lot of research so I can stand firm when people tell me that I'm wrong, just like I did for my other videos where I critiqued EOS and IOTA. Now, before we get started, I want to ask just one thing of you. Please don't bring up price performance as a reason why I'm wrong. After all, I'm not saying that you can't make a fortune by investing in ADA, nor am I saying that Cardano can't be successful in the future. I just want to explain my personal reasons for not liking it and why I prefer other projects instead. After all, there's probably several projects that you and I both agree are bad, but yet saw massive gains, right? So let's not use gains or price performance in this discussion. I want to start off by saying that I've watched Charles's videos before, and I get it. He's really good at painting a grand vision for Cardano, right? They're going to fix everything that's wrong with current blockchains. They're going to get huge adoption and change the world for the better. The issue is there's still a work in progress, so it's really hard to evaluate his claim. And if we look to the track record that they have so far, it's mostly delays after delays. I mean, I realize that building a blockchain network from scratch is difficult and it takes time, but the fundamentals just don't match up with the hype right now. Now, if they do launch and start getting some real organic traction, then sure, they will have a more solid footing at that point. I just don't think we should get ahead of ourselves here, especially in the crypto world, where we've seen countless projects promise us the world, but flop big time when they actually launch. This meme right here is exactly what I'm talking about, right? I just hope Cardano doesn't turn out to be that scribbled horse on the right-hand side. Now, in terms of track record, Cardano started in 2015, and 2 years later, they launched their phase 1 called Byron in late 2017. Now, their next phase, dubbed Shelley, was initially scheduled for Q1 of 2018, but then that got pushed back a year to Q1 of 2019, faced even more delays, with Charles promising to eat his shoe if Shelley didn't launch that year. But alas, they missed their deadline as Shelley finally came out in mid-2020. All of these delays, and you'd think that they have functioning smart contracts already. Well, nope. That comes out during their phase 3 called Goguen, which is what they're working on right now. They did finally launch their testnet in May 2021 and are targeting live smart contracts sometime this year. From my third-party perspective, it seems like they're gaining momentum for their releases, but it is undeniable that they take their sweet time and really embrace that slow academic approach. But is that even the right approach though? Like, are peer reviews even gonna give them some killer edge? Here's a thought-provoking clip from Vitalik about this very topic.
Is there something you could say about your thoughts about the Cardano project?
It's and there's definitely interesting ideas in there. I mean, I do think Cardano takes a bit of a different approach than Ethereum in that, they really emphasize having these big academic proofs for everything. Whereas Ethereum tends to be more okay with heuristic arguments, and in part because it's just trying to do more faster.
What's the role of deep research rigor in the world of cryptocurrency?
Interesting. I'm actually the sort of person who thinks deep rigor is overrated. The reason why I think deep rigor is overrated is because I think, in terms of why protocols fail, I think the number of failures that are outside the model is even more important, is bigger and more important than the failures that are inside the model.
Basically, he's saying that there's some potential points of failures outside the model that peer reviews and deep academic rigor can never prevent. That's why Ethereum takes more of a trial and error approach to move faster. And you can call me biased, but personally I think that's better because you can theorize and hypothesize all day in a lab, but there's always going to be unknown unknowns that you can't foresee until you put it out in the real world. It reminds me of that famous quote from boxing legend Mike Tyson: "Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth." But let's say for the sake of argument that it is the best approach and that they're able to build some amazing technology. I want to stress here that the best tech doesn't always win. History is littered with examples of this, like our keyboards. We're so used to QWERTY keyboards that we stuck with them even though much faster and more efficient ones came out. Or the classic case of Betamax losing out to VHS, even though it offered much higher quality. So it's not enough just to have amazing technology. Adoption and momentum are key as well. And in the blockchain space, adoption starts from having a robust developer community in your ecosystem, because they are the ones who build things that people use. Otherwise, it's just a network sitting there looking fancy. Look, I'm no developer myself, but I did go digging into various forums to see what Cardano's developer experience was like. And what I discovered was troubling. Several devs, of course, complained about Cardano's Haskell programming language because it's pretty obscure and difficult to grasp. But beyond that, the general consensus is that the developer documentation is a complete mess and seriously lacking. Like someone tried to run their hello world example on one of the sidechains and it just didn't work. Turns out there was a bug in the system that still hasn't been fixed months later. Even for the higher level languages like Plutus or Marlow, there's not enough resources for those either, which is concerning since smart contracts are supposed to come out in a few months. So how are devs supposed to prepare for launch if they don't have the support they need to build? By the way, don't take my word for this. I'll leave you links below that you can verify for yourself so you don't think that I'm just making this up. I think we can all agree that Cardano has a lot of work to do in this department in terms of supporting and empowering builders in their ecosystem, because it's crucial to create an amazing experience so devs will want to organically build in your ecosystem rather than just be mercenaries that go to wherever people pay them the most money. So those are my primary concerns about Cardano, but something else truly boggles my mind. Like, how did Cardano get such a large following even though it's still a work in progress? Turns out I wasn't the only person wondering this. Alex Kruger, an analyst that I follow, tweeted, "Why is it that every new person to crypto wants to buy ADA? New coiners' interest for ADA is incredibly consistent across continents. What channels does Cardano hit? And who does the marketing for them? Because it is all marketing." When I read that, I was like, wow, that matches up with my experience too. So many of my newbie friends hit me up and say, "How about that Cardano?" And I'm like, why is this so popular amongst newcomers? Well, I discovered a really compelling explanation in the comment section of Alex Kruger's Twitter thread. This guy Amar shared an old post by a world-class marketing and branding agency, McCann Dublin, sharing their working relationship with Cardano. This is the same agency used by huge corporations like Microsoft, by the way. Amar also noted that McCann Dublin's strategy was to emphasize things like founder credibility, peer review research, partnerships, and so forth, which are the same things that we hear all the time from the Cardano fans, right? Looks like their marketing campaigns actually worked and it was money well spent by the foundation. Now let's set aside all my concerns and suppose Cardano does indeed deliver. They still have one gigantic hurdle in my mind, and that has to do with their slow approach. Because by the time everything is rolled out like Goguen, Basho, Hydra, and so forth, it's gonna be at least 2022, but realistically 2024. And that's going to be around the same time that ETH2 is completely rolled out as well, if we give them some time for delays. It's really difficult to compare apples to apples because Ethereum will have rollups and other scalability upgrades before ETH2 is completely finished. So we have to line up Cardano's Hydra with Ethereum's phase 2 sharding to compare them more accurately. And I estimate that those will be ready around the same time, roughly speaking. So if we take a step back, Cardano will face a two-sided battle in the future. One side against Ethereum 2.0, which is looking to be a juggernaut, and the other side against all of the other competitors like Polkadot, Algorand, Solana, which already have several years worth of experience with fully functional smart contracts and immense scalability. You gotta admit, that looks like an uphill battle. I mean, sure, we can have a multi-chain world where everyone gets along, but the reality is that there are scarce resources such as liquidity, developers, and attention. So the question you gotta ask yourself is, will Cardano be able to compete not only right now, but also against its competitors 2 to 3 years in the future? Now, I wanna do something similar to the sports shows where the hosts force themselves to say something nice about a player just to prove that they aren't haters, even though they dish out a lot of criticism. So here we go, some things I like about Cardano. I think they have several interesting technical innovations like their extended UTXO model, native assets, and a multi-layered approach. They also galvanized over 500,000 delegators and over 2,600 staking pools, which I gotta applaud. And their decision to focus on building for Africa first, I think is smart. Ultimately, there is hope for them, but they gotta deliver and get some apps built on top that get true adoption. It's that simple. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Now, next up for this series, I'm gonna make a video about why I think the Internet Computer Project is an absolute joke. So if you wanna catch that one, be sure to subscribe. Also watch my EOS and IOTA critiques right here. Let me know if you enjoyed this series. I'm Kevin from BFB. I can't wait to see you on the next one, and cheers.